Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I welcome all my viewers, colleagues and students of class 10th AIIMS-HANDWARA. Dear students, viewers and my colleagues, everyone follower who is watching me, who is following me on video online this video lecture series, let me recapitulate you people first of all what I was discussing with you people. I was talking about the chapter 3rd that was entitled as Democracy and the Diversity here. Democracy and the Diversity. And in my first lecture, in my previous lecture, my first talk, I was talking, try to define the concept of democracy, how it's a type of government in which the people try to address all the problems and the issues, and how democratic type of a government is based by the people, and it wholly and solely is governed by the people, and it is ruled by the people, where the voice of the people is represented. And how the Greeks gave the concept of democracy, and how in this 21st century, every newly born country or the first world country, they try to talk about this democracy, and they try to establish the concept of what we simply call the democracy as a form of government. How this democratic type of government is going to replace all the type of the governments, like we are having the monarchy, we are having the aristocracy, we are having the oligarchy, we are having this aristocratic type of the government as well. So how it tries to replace all these type of the governments. And later on, the diversity, the term which literally means the heterogeneity, the students which I said to you last time in my lecture, it means the variations within any sort of societies, which can be both economical, which can be both social, and which can be political as well. So the concept here is that the concept which I am going to build here was actually by highlighting the particular case study of the Mexico City, in which the Olympics was played, and within the same Olympics, the two great personals, athletes, Tommy Smith and John Carlos, these two persons who took place a role there, but they were African American peoples who bowed down their heads and wear this black blouses, and that was representing this proper sign of poverty, inferiority complex of this white black domination, where the white was trying to dominate the black people. So it reflects one thing, that in America, the black-white domination is still existing. That's why the way they showed their resentment, and their medals were snatched from them. And the one person from the Australian athlete, namely Peter Norman, he tried to show the sympathy with them, but ultimately, world community was not paying a deaf ear towards these two people. Their voice was represented, their silence was represented by them when they talk about the civil rights movement in the United States of America. So later on, we have it. The San Jose University has established their statues within their lawn. There's a lot of gratitude and respect and honor for these two personalities. Means, dear students, there is a concept where the voiceless people are represented, where the people who are the marginalized sections, whose voices is not represented, they were witnessing the wave of prejudice and the sort of discrimination. The people are representing them. So the government is representing them. The best form of the government, what we simply call, that's a democratic type of the government. That's a democracy. Democratic type of government is repressing and addressing all those issues, all those gaps, all those differences. So dear students, in this chapter, we are going to talk about this, how this democratic type of government is going to address, how this democratic type of government is going to address and to overcome all those inequalities, all those social, economic, political, cultural inequalities that leads to the social divisions, and those very social divisions which untimely gives birth to the clashes. It gives birth to the sort of animosities among the different communities, among the different regions, among the different societies, among the different groups. And that's why this type of government that's based by the people, that's made by the people, that's structured by the people, it's absolutely giving the absolute rights to every section of the society, every corner of the society, where the people do not feel that they were aliens. They don't feel that we are unknown. They don't feel that the core is exploiting us, that we live in the peripheries, because we are in the minorities, because I'm black by skin, because I speak Dogri, because I belong to the Muslim minorities. India is a Hindu-dominated country, that they should not feel sort of the north-south gap. So dear students, in this chapter, we are going to talk about these things, that how these social differences are addressed by the type of government that we simply call the democratic type of government. Okay students, now going ahead, the subtopic which I have chosen today, that's the origins of social differences. How these differences among any country, any state or any political unit or any society, how these origins of social difference gets its shape, how they took place, how these origins of social difference took place. We are having the different social differences in the form of the caste, in the form of the color, in the form of the races, in the form of the religions, in the form of this language. How this difference takes place. But prior to this, that I am going to talk on this, how these origins, to discuss something on the origin of the social differences. Let me try to make two things clear to you people. That is, one is this. That's any problem that is sociological nature, means that takes place among the society, and second thing is that is the biological in nature. For example, let me take an example. If we talk about the caste, the sociologists, they call caste, they say the caste is a social problem, it is a social issue. Let's try to address this problem among the contours of the society. If there's any social conference that tries to address the problems of society, let's try to discuss that very problem within there. That is a social problem. But when we talk about this race, it's a biological problem. It is simply the problem that is based on the biological genes. Now, for example, if someone is taking birth in a family whose race is white by nature, the offspring is obviously from the white one. But this opinion is very much controversial about the views of the various sociologists. They call it that either the caste or the race, they are both sociological in nature, because they took place within the particular society. They took place within the particular society, and this social differences later on takes U-turn, and the moment it takes U-turn, it gives birth to different classes. So the prior to this, that we will discuss the origins of social differences. These two things came to my mind to discuss to you people. That is how these social differences and this the biological differences which people claim later on came within the same banner, that both the problems they are sociological in nature. Dear students, when we talk about the origins of social differences, there are three types of the causes for giving birth to any sort of social difference in any society. First of all, that is the difference by birth. The difference by birth. The difference that takes place by the birth. Example, birth is the main cause of social difference. People around us which are female, short, or they are tall, or they do have any kind of complexions, or have different abilities or disabilities, giving place to these differences. Means when we take place the moment we take place a birth, this birth takes place accidentally. That, for example, if I get birth in a rich family, that's I have nothing to in my credit for that. It's all accidental that I take birth in a rich family, or accidentally I take birth in a family that is a Muslim family in nature, or someone that's next door, my neighbor, that takes the offspring, the newly born takes birth in their family which are poor by nature. So, or someone takes birth in my family who is black in color, or my neighbor who's the kid who takes birth there, he is white in color. Means, or the person who takes birth in my family, he is tall, because we are all tall by race, and the next one, my next door neighbor, takes birth, he is short by their height. Or it means that these taking births, color complexities, tall, their height, their black, white, these complexions, these all things which later on gives the birth of difference in our society, that is quite natural, that's quite accidentally natural. There is nothing a role like we man to play within it. We are mere agents. But the man role that's played by the nature, that it is sort of biological accident that it takes place. For example, if a class student in the class takes birth in a very low family, very low, downtrodden classes, who are living among the slums, who are very poor, what's his fault in it that we are giving him any sort of torture in the class? Means that you are not white in color, your clothes are dirty, you looks filthy, you are not intelligent because your father is a rickshaw driver. So to claim someone, to target someone, to point out someone that you took birth within a particular family, it's totally irrational, it's totally illogical, it sounds me totally, it is a foolish, it's having no cause. It's yes, students. So now the first difference which I was talking to you was based on the birth. Now the second difference is that the origin that gives the birth to this difference, that's based on the choice, the concept of choice. Okay, here the second one, how this choice becomes a problem and it gives to the birth to the social problem, social differences. A few differences are based on the choice. Most of the choose what to study, which occupation to follow, and which game to play. All this creates social differences. Yeah. The moment you say the choices on the basis of choice, for example, we are having the candidate A, he is Muslim by religion. Okay, if he feels that I am going to adopt any new religion, then he can wholeheartedly going to supposed to embrace a new religion. So there, the difference that gives to the birth, that's based on the choice that he adopted the new religion from, he converted from Muslim to the Hinduism, Muslim to the Christian, or Christian to the Muslim, or Hindu to the Muslim. So that conversion is by choice in nature, right? Second one is, if someone is studying law, he's later on thinking that I should enter into the civil services, or I should study medicine. So there, that choice, replacement, that coming from law background to the medical sciences, that's once again the based on choice in nature, based on the concept of choice. Second thing is that if someone's occupation is he's a teacher, later on he thinks that I want to change the designation, I will go in the next field, I will do business, or I will do something different, I will try to be a social servant, I will try to be a philanthropist. So he definitely he can do one thing, he can change his designation, he can change his occupation, but that changing of the occupation is this is choice in nature. It means that these differences that takes place on the basis of the choices, we can say that it sometimes unite the people as well. Dear students, the way we talk about those with the two persons, Tommy Smith and John Carlos, those two athletes of African American, they have united each other. This game united them. This designation united them. Changing of the game united them, that we are one. That we are the one people. And that later on developed a new sense and new concept within America. That's the concept of civil rights. So later on, the next one is that's the difference, the origin that is based on that on the stats. That the second origin for the social difference. Last one, that's on the basis of this on the basis of stats. Dear students, stats means your position, what one is, what you are. It means if any person is rich or any person is poor, means that will determine their stats. The person, once upon a time he was a simple graduate. Later on he qualifies civil service exams, he tops there. It means that he's a bureaucrat now, and from this below poverty line he reached to this white collar jobs. It means that this stats, these two sections, one is rich and one is poor, this stats determines their position. The one is candidate one is financially sound and the candidate second is financially low. It means that these two poles, their budget, their finance, their capital, their resource, their money, their monetary value determines their nature, that determines their stats, and later on this stats gives birth to the two poles, that one can be rich and second can be the poor. So this was the third one, third origin. What I said to you, one is the birth and second is choice, but third is stats. That these persons determine the person's stats determine their position, and sometimes this stats also creates a problem. It becomes a blockade, it becomes a impediment in the progress of the country. So these were the three cases, three origins. One is on the basis of society, this birth is by nature, second is the choice, and third is stats. So these three jointly gives birth to the difference in the society, and these social differences later on gives birth to the new concept what we call a social divisions. If, for example, if these social differences overlap sometimes, if it triggers to each other, if you try to overlap someone, if one problem is going to overlap the next problem, if black is feeling that we are inferior than the whites, if the person who is financially sound is going to overwhelm and dominate the person who is financially low, and this creates a gap, this creates a problem, this overlapping creates a problem. So that's why, dear students, that this overlapping and cross-cutting difference, it definitely creates problem in a particular society. So these social differences, these social inequalities are addressed in a society by only a particular type of a government, what we simply call the democratic type of the government. This is the basic essence. This is the basic essence of my talk here, that quoting the differences, quoting the different determinants to say. So this was the basic sense of my talk today, that how these three social differences, the origin of these three social differences gives birth to the particular cause, particular confusion, particular chaos in the society, and later on that very chaos becomes the problem for maintaining the social, economic and the political harmony within the particular country. So this problem can be addressed only by a particular political system, by a particular form of the government, what we simply call the democratic type of the government. So dear students, hope you have now understood my concern, what I was trying to develop within you, how the social differences, the overlapping of the social differences can be stopped, and it can be addressed by a unique type of the government, that is democracy. So let's try to cover up the different subtopics of the same chapter within a couple of days, within the coming lectures. Till then, you just stay tuned to me and be glued to your books. Don't lose hope. Inshallah, we are going to resume now that COVID-19 is going to say us goodbye now, and we are going to say goodbye once again now. Schools will be reopened once again. Be motivated, don't lose hope and confidence. Till then, we will formally join to you. You just take care, be smiled, stay tuned, and all the best. Take care.